Some recent video game industry events made me think, once again, about why I think old games are better. My 8 reasons why old games were better video is my most popular video, with over 200,000 views. Thank you. So, why not milk the topic more? Here we are, making another video about why old games were better. And I start with the thing that made me do another one, Alterin the game after the release. This video will be a little bit more ranty than the last one, so buckle up. The recent update to Final Fantasy VII Remake, or Final Fantasy VII Integrate as it's known these days. The game was initially released 4 years ago. I'm not going into the details of what they changed, it does not matter what it was, but they changed something 4 years after the fact. And that's the issue. Of course, my issue with this practice is that, as a consumer, I don't necessarily agree with any given change made to the game after its release. It doesn't matter if it's the day one patch that pretty much every game these days has, or years down the line. Can you get a refund if they change the product in a way that makes you not to want to buy it anymore? No, of course you don't get a refund. They already have your money, but can change the product as they please. Imagine buying a car, and after 3 months the seller comes storming in and changes your engine from V8 to inline 4, reduces horsepower to half and paints your blue car yellow. Would you accept that? You bought a blue V8 with 400 horsepower instead of yellow inline 4 with 200 horsepower. Of course you wouldn't. Why do we accept this in the gaming industry? How does this make old games better then? Well, if we go back in time enough, we get to an era of video games when the content couldn't be changed after you bought them. This is especially true on consoles, except for making bug fixes in the future game prints. Sure, a few examples of content removals and censorship happened this way back in the day, but it wasn't commonplace. PC games had updates and patches as optional downloads, but again, they were mainly used to squash bugs rather than change content. If they did, they weren't forced upon you. And if some critical game-breaking issue were fixed, let's say with update 1.02 and update 1.03 censored something, you weren't forced to apply the update that altered content, but still could utilize bug fixes in the previous version. These days though, when games are mainly released broken and then patched on day one, running the disk version isn't ideal. And even if content changing update comes years later, like in my example case for this video, you can choose just only to install bug fixes. You either take it all in or not at all. So you end up either a broken game or an altered or censored game. Another example is adding microtransactions a few weeks after the game's release to get favorable press reviews because they aren't present during the review period. Tekken 8 is a prime example of this. Before I bought it, I had yet to find out if they would introduce microtransactions to the game. I'd like to have a refund now, even though I think it's a fun game, but I just can't stand the idea that the best customization items and outfits will now be only available to purchase with real money. I love my fan service in video games, that's no secret, and Tekken 8 is seriously lacking in this department compared to previous installments in the series. Now that I have already bought the game and I'm stuck with it, at least have the fan service available to purchase. Because I can't get my money back, let's at least have a fulfilling and satisfying experience with the game. If you enjoyed the video, why not subscribe to my channel for more content like this? Thank you. Another thing I want to talk about in this video is physical copy. I spoke about this topic in my last video, but not entirely from this angle I'm going to now. While we still have some physical copies these days, they aren't the same as they used to be. Game updates make them obsolete as soon as the game is released, and physical copies will soon be a thing of the past. Microsoft announced that it will stop producing physical copies of its games. Some recent big releases like Alan Wake 2 have skipped physical copies. While I don't care about that game, I care about physical copies. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony and Nintendo going into the next generation of video game consoles announced only digital download systems. Even the new PS5 Pro is rumored to have a detachable optical drive, which you must buy separately if you want it. The physical copies of old, when full games shipped on disc, cartridge or whatever, they had at least a physical manual or instruction booklet. I enjoyed reading these. I found them handy with new games to check out the controls and features of the game. They could include character bioses and backstories, etc. It felt like you just got more with your money. PC games used to ship in cool big boxes, which contained lots of goodies, before the tacky collector's editions of the last decade or so. Some of them didn't even include a physical copy of the game itself, if at all. Yeah, they sell collector stuff boxes without games these days. Does that make any sense? I had a lot more to say about this topic, so if you haven't seen my first video about this, you can watch it now.